here? 9?
8.
8. 9's better.
8 sounded a lot like last week.
It is. He's still figuring it out. All right, is everybody here? Did we miss anybody? Hello? All right, I thought Benny had come in, but she's not. Let's look at chapter 8 then. Who is like, who is like the wise man? And who knows the interpretation of a matter? A man's wisdom illumines him and causes his stern face to beam. I say, keep the command of the king because of the oath before God. Do not be in a hurry to leave him or abandon him, yours might read. Do not join in an evil manner, for he will do whatever he pleases. Since the word of the king is all authority, who will say to him, what are you doing? He who keeps a royal command experiences no trouble in his life, for a wise heart knows the proper time and procedure. For there is a proper time and a procedure for every delight when a man's trouble is heavy upon him. And if no one knows what will happen, who can tell him when it will happen? No man has authority to restrain the wind, for with the wind or the authority over the day of death. And there is no discharge in the time of war, and evil will not deliver those who practice it. All of this I have seen, and I have applied my mind to every deed that has been done under the sun, wherein man has exercised authority over another man only to his own hurt. So then, I have seen the wicked buried, those who used to go in and out from the holy place, and they are soon forgotten in the very city where they did this. This too is all but futility. Because the sentence against an evil deed is not executed quickly, therefore their hearts of the Son of Men amongst them are given fully to do more evil. And although a sinner does evil 100 times and may lengthen his life by doing so, still I know that it will be well for those who fear God and who fear him openly. But it will not be well for the evil man, for he will not lengthen his days like a shadow, because he does not fear God. There is futility. There is futility which is done upon the earth. That is, there are righteous men to whom it happens according to the deeds of the wicked. And on the other hand, there are evil men to whom it happens according to the deeds of the righteous. I say this too is futility. So I commend pleasure, for there's nothing good for a man under the sun except to eat, drink, and be merry. And this will stand by him throughout his toils and all the days of his life, which God has given him under the sun. When I gave my heart to know wisdom and to seek the task which has been done on the earth, even though one should never sleep either day or night, I saw every work of God, I concluded that man cannot discover the work which has been done under the sun. Even though man should seek laboriously, he will not discover. And though the wise man should say, I know, he in fact cannot discover. What do you think about that?
I like your version.
Well, Chuck had to run home because he forgot the microphone for the church service. So I can't walk around because he's got the camera looking, So I said, here I am, and I'll go over here and say, ah! Anyway, I got to stay still, which aggravates me to no end. Anyway, what do you think about this chapter, chapter 8? 2 things you should note. What is the first thing you should note?
Well, then he's referencing God a little more.
Acknowledges God. That is true. He doesn't give much credence to the Lord, but at least God is in his thinking. And he acknowledges man. But what is he acknowledging about man?
That they're evil.
No.
They die.
No. Well, they die, that's true. But what he's acknowledging about man is that he is really a victim in creation. And he is helpless to leap beyond that creation. The evil man does evil and his days can be prolonged. The righteous man does righteousness and he dies young. You know, as Billy Joel said, or whoever sang that song, only the good die young. And they really have no say over it because there is, in fact, a greater power acting upon this creation. And that everything in this creation has already been set in place. And to know it, if you could know it, doesn't change anything. You're still just a little tadpole swimming around in a pool.
Yeah, but he's doing exactly what you said God doesn't want us to do. Like he becomes indifferent because he sees that their wickedness and they live in the world with like the righteousness should live and the righteousness live as the wicked should live. And then he's like, just go be married. Like, never mind.
Well, and see, all the ancient Greek philosophers went down that same road. You know, you're the evilest woman in the world. Mean to everybody, have people killed just so you can get ahead, and yet nothing happens to you. I'm the holiest guy in the world because I am a teacher, preacher, and man of God. And what's going to happen? Well, you're going to die and end up in the ground. I'm going to die and end up in the ground. So the common sense aspect of us says, let's just eat, drink, and be merry because tomorrow we're all landfill, when you think about it. And that's a very, very small understanding of God's creation, don't you think?
Yes.
And that's where he is. He's thinking he is a victim of creation. There's nothing he can do about it anyway. Whether you're evil or whether you're good, whether your days are lengthened or whether they're cut short, it's basically a roll of the dice, right? So if you only have a few days, and nobody knows that, he makes that quite plain. Nobody knows everything that's going to happen in creation, but mostly nobody knows the day of their death. He makes that quite plain. If that's true, then like the two guys in their incredible journey, who was it? What was that movie? Two guys and they were on an incredible journey. Two rock and roll guys. Bill and Ted. Like Bill and Ted, they said, I wish I'd get my party on, dude. Because we don't know what's going to happen. So we may as well party on. Now, as much as all the teenagers went, wow, that is so awesome, the Greek philosophers 1,000 million years ago were saying the same thing. We called them Epicureans back in those days. We called them Stoics. We called them many different things. But they were saying the same thing. Eat, drink, and be merry, because tomorrow you're going to be dead. Well, how do you know it's tomorrow? Well, we don't really know that. But sooner or later, you're going to be dead. So you may as well enjoy yourself now, right? The problem with that kind of thinking is that it is B-O-N-S-I-B-L-E. It is irresponsible to anything beyond yourself. Because if, on the outside chance, there is a God, and if, on the outside chance, this God not only set into motion, but maintains the motions of all things, and if this God is eventually going to hold accountable everybody in this creation, then what should we do? We should put down our beer for a minute and give him the time of day.
Yeah.
Because that would be the prudent thing to do anyway. Whether you believe it or don't, even if you're the total atheist, you ought to at least go, well, we ought to check this out. It's like coming up to a great ravine, billion-foot drop, and it's a little wood bridge with some ropes across it. And you got all your family and everything, and you got to cross that bridge, right? What would the prudent man do?
Say a prayer.
No.
Try it out.
Well, he would, pull on the ropes a little bit, and he would shake it a little bit. He might step out on it. Not his family. He'll put them back there, because, I love my wife and kids. If you didn't love your wife and kids, you go, you guys go first. But then he'd walk across, and he'd maybe pound on each little board, make sure it's not going to break. And it would take a while. It might take Dad a half an hour to get across the bridge. But he would check it out to make sure. And then he'd say, all right, y'all, come on. Just one at a time. Come one at a time. Because, we don't want to put too much weight on this. So he checked it out as best as he could. And he said, okay, I think it's safe. Come on over. Wouldn't you do that? Tim, would you do that? Or would you send these two guys out and say, get out there and jump up and down, you guys? No. You would check it out. Slowly but surely, you would make sure it's somehow safe for the rest of the family to pass. Now, does that make you God? Does that make you exceedingly wise over anybody else? No, because I think anybody would do that. Really, when you think about it. I'm not going across that thing until I check it out. Well, if we are so conscious of our own creation, which we say we don't have anything over, any control over, like the wind, he says, the wind, who has control over that? We don't have control over this, we don't have control over that. You're right halfway. You're halfway right. You're halfway right. In that there's many things you don't have control over. Try as I might, and I've really worked on this, I don't have any influence over the orbits of other planets. Oh, I've tried. I'd like to shove Mars right into FSU. God won't let me do that. However, I do have a lot of control over some stuff. How fast I drive, who I make a friend, who I make an enemy, what I do to friends, what I do to enemies. I have control over my appetites. I have controls over my party on, dude. Or why don't we act responsible and take care of the house and mow the yard and wash the dishes and do the laundry? Because that's going to please the dragon lady. And when the dragon lady gets home, she'll be all happy because I did all this stuff. But I don't have to do all that stuff, do I? No. Because I am the king. The emperor of my castle. Until the dragon lady comes home. Then I'm in trouble. Why didn't you do anything? Dishes piled up, laundry's everywhere, the house is a wreck. There's some things I have control over, and there's some things I don't have control over. So he is half right with this victim mentality. You know what? If the moon left its orbit, actually it is. It's getting closer to us. You realize that? Nobody realizes that. The moon just reported, NASA again said it's 7 feet closer to us this year than it was 3 years ago. And wow, 7 feet? That's a big old moon. If that moon slammed into the earth, what are the chances of what would happen? Well, the earth would be destroyed. We would be destroyed for sure. A body that big hitting a body as big as ours, there would be nobody left to worry about the bodies anymore.
Yeah.
And if that moon keeps getting closer, do I have any control over it? No. Is NASA going to tie a spaceship on it and blast it back out there? Probably not. So what's going to happen? Well,
A victim of service.
we're all going to eat moon pies. That would be hilarious. No, it wouldn't. Anyway, the fact of the matter is there's parts of creation that we have no control over. I love farming. I've always loved farming. I grew up on a farm, my uncle's farms and all that stuff. You know, to make stuff grow is incredible. You know what I had for dinner last night? I have one pepper plant, and it grew 2 big old giant yellow peppers. And we cut those suckers, Carol did, not me. And she ground a lamb, which is awesome, and put a zillion different things in it, and stuffed those peppers, and put them in the oven, and baked them. Those peppers were on the plant 30 minutes before dinner. Just picked them, cut them, put them in the oven. Tzatziki sauce. She made her own tzatziki sauce. Who does that anymore? Nobody does that, but Carol did. And she made her own tzatziki sauce with about 1 million spices. Put it on there. Smothered that sucker. Gave me 2 hunks of pepper. She got 2 hunks of pepper. Oh. And as much as I'd like to step up and say, I made that pepper grow. No, I put the seed in the ground. I watered it. I tried to keep bugs off it if I saw any bugs. But did I make it grow? No, I didn't make it grow. Did I make it make peppers? Well, it was a pepper plant, you know. You'd think that would be already programmed in as part of the package, right? But did I make it make peppers? No. Did I make it make yellow peppers? Because I can't eat green peppers. I didn't do any of that stuff.
Must they green until they were yellow?
Well, everything starts off green when you think about it.
Yeah.
You're overthinking it again. Stop it. I'm going to make you sit on the overthinking bench out there. Even apples start off green. Just so you know. Wheat, green. Corn, green. Everything starts off green. Fact of the matter is, as much as I'd like to consider myself an incredible farmer, I don't make anything grow. I might provide it a place to grow. I might set up the circumstance for it to grow, but I have no control over whether it grows or not. And sometimes it doesn't grow. And you know what I do in those cases? I refuse to accept any of the responsibility for the fact that it didn't grow. This is God's fault. Then a McCormick's spice jar usually bites my finger or something of that nature. But the fact of the matter is, Solomon here is half right. He is a victim in some parts of creation, but he is also very empowered in other parts of creation, particularly what? Well, particularly this. That he has the power to learn. And not just learn, but learn through experience. E-N-C-E. The power, presence, and person of God. God's not keeping himself hidden as this invisible almighty power off some distant galaxy somewhere. He's saying, I'm right here, guys. Even the men around the Last Supper said, Lord, show us. They said, Jesus, show us the Father. You remember his response to that? He said, Philip, you've seen me, you've seen the Father. What is wrong with you? There are many things you can do, and there are some things you can't do. Big deal. There's some things that are beyond your ability, and there are some things that rely heavily upon your ability. Enjoy these things. Live responsible to these things, and leave this alone. Even Jesus at the Last Supper said, boys, I got to tell you something. There are so many more things I could tell you. You remember that verse?
But you not be able to handle it.
He says, you can't handle it yet. Your little peanut of a brain could never understand the magnificence of God's creation. Someday, though, you will know. Someday. Now, I don't know what that means. All I'm thinking is maybe when we die and we're recreated, made perfect in the Lord, in His character, in His person, in His presence, that we will be able to know, is there life on Alpha Centauri? Well, there are little bean people, look like cashews, and they run around. They're really cute. Can I know that now? No, I can't know that now for a couple of reasons. First of all, we have never been to Alpha Centauri because it's 25 light years away. And we haven't got any kind of vehicle that can travel at the speed of light for 25 years. So those little bean guys, they're going to run around, have a good time, and I will never know that, will I? So should I worry about it? You know, I haven't slept in 3 nights because those dang bean guys. I know they're up there. Chanter, you're being an idiot. Yeah, well, how many of us, all of you raise your hand, worry about stuff that probably will never happen? Anybody?
Yes.
Oh, you're the only honest girl in this whole building. 90% of the things we worry about, on average, never even happen. Never even happen. But, I'm worried what's going to happen. How many are worried right now about the stock market? You should be. It's crashing as we speak.
Yeah.
So if you have anything invested in the stock market, it's probably not a good place to have it right now. So what do? Well, you take stuff out of the stock market, put it in something else. You know why you do stuff like that? Because you have control over those things. How many of you go to sleep at night worrying if your heart's going to keep beating all night long? Come on, Barb. Tell me the truth. Did you worry last night? Oh, what if my heart stops?
No, I didn't worry last night.
Well,
In bed and I was asleep.
even if you did worry about it, what could you do about it?
Nothing I could do.
Absolutely nothing. Well, you can get one of them little shocky things. You take that one in the back of the church and, put it on you just in case. And if you felt it stop, you can reach over and go do that all night long, I guess. I don't know, but you can control your money, your IRA, and all that stuff you got in the stock market if the stock market is starting to crash. But as far as your heart beats, the vital stuff that keeps you on the planet, really no control over it, right? Breathing, no control over it. Blood flow, very little control over it. There's just some stuff that God said, you don't need to know right now. Jesus said it to His men. Guys, I've told you everything. I've showed you incredible miracles. I've showed you the very power of God. I've explained the kingdom of heaven. But you know what? There's some stuff I'm not going to tell you right now. Not that you're unworthy, but you're unable. Well, I'm unable. I'm a Superman. Anybody remember the old Batman shows, the original with Adam West? He was a beta in my fraternity, by the way, Adam West. Batman, who knew? Before me, he was back in the 50s, but he was at the University of Florida, beta house. No. Remember Batman? Mm-hmm. Him and Robin, and they 30-minute little program every day. We watched it religiously as children. He was one of the first the Superman guy too. Superman and Batman, they were great. And, Robin would say, the Joker is robbing the bank at, Federal National Bank. We got to get over there. Well, that's a mile and a half away. Should I commandeer a cab, Batman? Great writing. Batman said, no, Robin, we'll just run. But we only have 2 minutes. 2-minute mile is no big deal for an average everyday crime fighter. And then they did that bat run. The music playing. It was so hokey. It was great. Every kid in the world was going, I want to run a bat run for 2 miles. Yeah, and then when they fought, it was always splurch. And boffo, boom. As far as I know, in 66 and a half years of my life, being an ex-athlete, being an ex-track star, nobody has run a 2-minute mile. Now, they broke the 4-minute mile, that was true, or the 5-minute mile. But nobody has run a 2-minute mile, and I'm going to bet a middle-aged man named Adam West didn't run one either, even with the bat suit on. There are some things we cannot do. Not that we're unwilling, we're unable. There are many things we cannot know right now. Not that we're unwilling, we're unable. We are finite creatures. This brain can know a lot, but it can't know everything. You see how he ends this chapter? Maybe someday after I'm dead, God will tell me everything and I'll know everything. But what I know now is obviously of no value to me. Because the rich and the poor both die. The wise and the fool both die. The man well-fed and a man starving both die. So he's throwing the proverbial baby out with the bathwater. When God is saying, you do and can know the things that I want you to know. And just because you can't know everything doesn't mean you can't know some things. How many of you were born with the ability and the understanding to drive a car? Nobody, Tom. Good answer. How many of you have driven a car today or yesterday? Probably everybody in this room has driven a car. What changed? I mean, you were born a total blundering dunderhead. You couldn't drive a car. And now we're trusting you with a 6,000-pound vehicle in traffic on public roads where you could kill people. How many of you killed anybody in a car yesterday? Oh, come on, it's lots of fun. Well, that means you not only learned how to drive, you learned how to drive responsibly.
No, you're responsible.
You not only learned something you didn't know before, but you learned it, assessed it, and employed it responsibly. To where it not only benefits you, but everybody in your community. In other words, you knew some things. How many of you drove a train yesterday? Nobody. Y'all don't have the hat. If you had the hat, I'd believe you. None of you drove a train. How many of you drove a train when you were born? Probably none of you. How many of you want to drive a train? Probably most of you don't. Yeah, I might try it once as a novelty thing, but you don't, right? So there are things you can learn and you employ responsibly to better your life and everybody around. And there are other things equally as valuable, but you don't want to learn. I don't want to learn how to drive a train. Why? Because I'm not. I love trains, by the way. If anybody in this room would want to learn to drive a train, it would be me. But in all honesty, I am an honest man. I don't know how to drive a train. I've ridden on trains. I even had a hot dog on a train. And my wife bought it for me. The dragon lady bought me a hot dog. Even though I'm not allowed to eat hot dogs. She won't let me go to Lowe's anymore. You know why? It's a wonderful store, wonderful products, but they have a hot dog guy out front. And I always have to get a hot dog. I can't walk by a hot dog guy. Another little learned behavior that Carol hates. But I digress. Let's go back to the train. There are some things I can learn, but I choose not to. I don't want to learn how to drive a train. Why? Well, because A, I don't have a train to drive. B, I don't know what I would do with the knowledge if I knew how to drive a train, right? How many of you fix your own cars? What are you, all dumb? You unable to learn simple mechanics? Nobody can learn that stuff anymore. We don't fix our car. You know what? We take it to the mechanics. It makes a noise. It goes, wook, 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 wook. Figure that out, will you? And he goes, what? Somehow we expect him to know. Why? Because he knows about engines, right? Everybody knows the wooka 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 sound, if you know about engines. And he looks at us like we got 3 heads and says, you're really an idiot. He doesn't say that, but I guarantee you that's what he's thinking. So there are some things we choose to learn, some things we choose not to learn. There's some things we choose to be responsible with. There's some things we choose not to be responsible with. How many of you have ever been on a dirt bike or a motorcycle or an ATV? Does anybody on those things ever drive responsibly? No. You know why they don't? Because of the thrill. You're on the stupid thing because you want to go up a hill and, fall back 700 yards and kill yourself. That's so awesome. It's not like dying from a spice jar. There's no thrill there. But boy, if I was riding a bike straight up a hill for 7,000 feet, that would be cool. So I can learn stuff and even be irresponsible. Wow, you know what I have? Do you have any idea what I have? Power. Great power. Am I rich? No, I'm a minister. That put the rich thing away. Am I poor? No, I'm not poor. Am I obese? Not quite. Getting there. Am I impoverished? No. I mean, I have great power and to guide my life as to I'm going to live normal, but within restrictions. Do I own a home? Yes, I do. Do I own 10 homes? No, I don't. Do I have a plane? No, like trains, I don't know how to fly them. But nevertheless, I don't need a plane or a train. What I need is a truck. Do I have a truck? Yes, I have a truck. The things I choose and I go after and I work for and I strive to gain responsibly. I don't steal truck. That truck is not stolen. I have great power in my life. Can I worry? Should I worry about my heart beating all night, Barb? Of course not. What about my next breath? I got to worry about that? No. If my truck has flat tires, should I worry about that?
Yes.
Yes. Why? Well, because I can do something about it. Chapter 8 is saying, what is there? He's not realized it yet. He will in the next chapter. There are things that we can worry about, and there's things we cannot worry about. But God is not one of the things we can't worry about. Quite the opposite. He says, I stand at the door and knock. Anybody open that door, I will come in and eat with him and dine with him and dwell with him. Anybody lacks wisdom, let him ask of me, and I will grant it abundantly. Whatever you do in my name, said Jesus, God will grant you, so that glory may be given him. There are some things you can know, you can decide on, and only you can live to that. You have great power. Are you rich? No. Are you poor? No. Are you in any way, shape, or form different of any of the rest of creation? No. And yet God's given you great power. Well, are you wielding the great power? How many women have grown up and ever changed their hair color? Great power there. Until the idiot husband says, your head looks like a big balloon now. And then she changes his lifestyle from alive to dead. You can change your hairstyle, you can change your diet, you can change your clothes, you can change the bath water, you can change the color of your house, the furniture, the layout, the yard. But can you change the organization of the planets? Well, I don't even see a reason to live if you can't change the organization of the planets. Why don't you just go throw yourself on, into a snow cone machine or something? And you say, Tom, You sound like an idiot. Oh, so you have learned stuff. You've learned that Tom is an idiot. We can learn, and we can't learn. Not that we couldn't or we're unwilling, but we're not allowed to learn because we're not God. All of these daily behaviors that we have to reassess are under the instruction or the tutelage, if you will, of God, which bespeaks that there is a God that exists, that He has a plan for my life, as the Scripture tells us, and that He's worried about me right down to the last breath and heartbeat that I take. I've been married to Carol now, going on 44 years next month, in March. 44 years, and she does not know how many times my heart beat yesterday. And I've tried to tell her. She doesn't know how many hairs are on my head. It's easy for Christ. He said, the hairs on your head are numbered. She doesn't know how many footsteps I will take from my birth to my death. God knows that. He tells us He knows that. He knows how many breaths I'll take, how many times I'll breathe from my birth to my death. Does anybody know that stuff? Do I know that stuff? I mean, I've been trying to write it down, but I miss a beat here and there. Is it important that I know that stuff? No. Is that stuff evidence that there's somebody who does know that stuff? Yes. Would it behoove me to look into not how many heartbeats I have, but who it is that knows how many heartbeats I have? Show us the Father, said Philip at the Last Supper. Show us the Father, it'll be enough. Oh, you idiot. I've been walking with you for 3 years. We've ate together, we've walked together, we've taught together. You seen the miracle? Did you like that water thing? That was cool, wasn't it? How about the fish and the loaves thing? Did you see that? I mean, we had a couple of little lumps of bread and a couple of fish, and next thing you know, we're up to our eyeballs in it. Did you see the water to wine thing? Hey, how about when I raised that guy from the dead? Was that cool? Lazarus, come forth. 3 other guys had to get out in front of him, but come forth. Did you see that stuff? Have you done any of that stuff, Barb? Raise anybody from the dead?
No.
Feed 5,000 with a loaf of bread? No, you didn't. Did you heal any lepers? 10 of them to be specific. No, you didn't. Even the Kukaraja stuff can't do that. Did you walk on water today, guys? Zach, Jared, either one. Come on. You practice in your bathtub at all? Or on the pool? Yeah, have you tried? Okay, good. At least you're trying. I don't know about you guys. I really don't, because I can't assess your mental abilities. Only you can do that. But if I saw all that stuff, I wouldn't screw with the guy at all. I'd say, woo, okay, Son of God, I can get behind that. Philip says, show us the Father. You know what he was saying? If there's really a God, prove it. Show me God. This is after 3 years of walking together, ministering together, all the miracles, all the signs and wonders. And he says, yeah, well, if there's really God, show me. You can see the disappointment in Jesus. Oh, Philip, come on. Really? Really? None of this has made any difference to you. I didn't do them things for my sake. I did them for yours. Why was this man born blind? Jesus said he wasn't born blind because he was bad or his parents were bad. He was born blind so that you could see the glory of God. Watch this. He mixes up a little mud, shoves it on the guy's eyes, and says, go wash in a pond. He washed in the pond, and what happened? Had his sight back. Born blind. Now he's an old man, lived his whole life in total darkness. Bing, eyes open. Any wonder he starts leaping and dancing and shouting for joy around Jesus. And all the other guys are just standing there going, what's that mean, man? Jesus didn't do that stuff for him. He did it for us. Well, you know what? God gives us a whole bunch of stuff we can do. And yeah, there's some things we can't do. So why don't we focus on what we can do, get rid of the victim mentality, and say, God, you have empowered me to party on or to praise on. You have given me the power to be irresponsible or responsible. I can pull out of this thing and go 95 miles an hour down Howell Branch Road, probably run a few red lights, kill a few people, wreck a few cars. Who cares? My truck, my life. I'll be irresponsible. Or I can pull out of this parking lot and drive home, obeying the speed limits, obeying the red lights, and I arrive home safely and I make a bologna sandwich. Now, the first way sounds like a lot more fun. But one of the costs of being irresponsible is you also get wrecked and maybe die. Or you go to jail and no bologna sandwiches in jail. Or you just drive home, love your family, love your wife, and everybody eats bologna. That's fabulous. You know what they call that? Power is not in that accelerator. Oh, it's fun to step on it. Power is in the ability God gave you, and God gave you, and God gave you the ability to be responsible, to learn, and then be responsible to what you learn. And most of all, if you're smart, I can't say everybody's smart, to attribute that power and responsibility back to the creator of it. Our boy here, he's still thinking like a victim. Well, I'm going to live and I'm going to die. I may as well party on, dude. Because I got no control over my life or my death. Wrong. You have control over your life. No, you don't have control over your death. The day and the hour, we don't know. No more control than when God's going to end the world. Jesus even said, I don't know. God didn't tell me the day or the hour. Oh, it will come. I guarantee you that. But when, I couldn't tell you guys. They asked him that, There's some things God didn't even tell Jesus, for crying out loud. There's some things God doesn't give us power over either. But over creation, a lot of things in creation. Are you bigger than a rhino? No. Can you take out a rhino? Sure you could. Get a big enough gun, get a bomb, get a hand grenade, whatever. You can take out the rhino. Can the rhino take out you? Well, if you stand in front of him and go, yeah, he can probably charge you and kill you. But he's not going to look you up in the phone book, come down your street, find your house, knock on the door, and then wait till you open it and slam into you. Why? He doesn't have that power. You do, and you do. You can go find the rhino and shoot him. Does that make you more powerful than the rhino? Well, in terms of strength, no. In terms of smarts, yes. Great power in smarts. Great power in responsible living. Great power in good decision making. Great power. But nobody's recognizing it, Tom, and nobody's praising me. That's not the purpose of it. The purpose of power is to grow you into no longer a victim, but a responsible man or woman who gives glory to where glory belongs. Because when you go to bed tonight, you have no control over whether or not your heart's going to keep beating. Remember that. You have no control over whether or not you're going to keep breathing. Remember that. See, God's all around us, and He reminds us every step of our life. And to have the victim mentality is just sheer and utter, oh, let's say it, futility. You limit yourself when God's given you great power. Not as great as Him, but He's given you great power. And hopefully you will look up to that God and say, you know what? I'm tired of partying. Let's check Him out. That's chapter 8. That's where he is now. But he's still got this victim thing going on. I think there is a God. I think He'll bless somebody. Maybe He will. Maybe He won't. Who knows? Can't know that, so I don't care. Jesus said, I can forgive any sin except one. What was the one? Anybody remember? Well, we call it blasphemy of the Holy Spirit. But what does that mean? I'll tell you what that means. That means to look and see the opportunity God has for you, and you go, yeah, whatever. And you throw it out the window and you walk on. God can forgive. Jesus can forgive any sin save one. And that's when we say, no thanks. He can forgive arrogance. He can forgive ignorance. But He will not forgive indifference. The day you say, God, who needs you? Ooh. You're done. Then you know what? You can go back to the victim understanding. Because you will definitely be a victim. Okay? That's chapter 8. Next week, he's going to make a new decision and say, maybe. That's the decision that every man and every woman ever created will have to make sooner or later. And if you don't make it, then your death, when you stop breathing and your heart stops beating, will make it for you. And it will sadly be against the Lord. All right? When you come to church, it's no small thing. When you come to Sunday school, it's no small thing. When you give God the time of day anywhere, it's no small thing. Know that. All right?